AJ Garrett here from Underwood Systems, coming to you from, again, Camp X on location and down at Forbidden Beach. I wanted to take this video spot and our Camp X secret spot here and talk a little bit about answering the question as to why was Camp X placed here in Oshawa, Whitby, in Ontario, on the shores of Lake Ontario. The bottom line is there are many reasons why this location was surgically chosen for this project or this task. One might think, in looking at the history of it, for example, that, you know, being as illustrious as it is, with the birthplace of Bond, the birthplace of the OSS and the CIA, well, why wasn't it placed in, somewhere in the United States? Okay, well, first of all, Camp X needed to be placed in a very non-disclosed type of location that was away from prying eyes, and Canada certainly offered that. But as importantly, the U.S. couldn't be the United States. All right, the U.S. was not permitted to be involved in any wartime activity unless war, was declared, and that was something, of course, that Roosevelt was battling, trying to win eventually the public support for that. It was a whole battle to get the U.S. in the war. However, having Camp X placed here on the other side of Lake Ontario offered some very specific benefits. The U.S. did send troops overnight under the cover of darkness to participate in Camp X. In December of 1941, some of the first classes that went through with George Dorilla-Wisco and other instructors and so forth were full of COI, or Coordinator of Information, operators, the first agents, the first or predecessor to the OSS, predecessor to the CIA, okay, and FBI as well was involved. So the point of the matter is the Americans certainly took advantage of that within this process, and this location being here was super important. Now, being on Lake Ontario also offered an amazing waterway or transportation system right from theater, right from the ocean into the Great Lakes, and then here to be able to transport people, gear, equipment, whatever you wanted, to bring it either to Camp 30 or to bring it here. So it made sense there. Agents like Bill Hardcastle, for example, that was at the camp, and others talked about the fact that, and it's been discovered and proven, just behind me here in the water, there's a huge concrete slab that has a big eye hook in it. And one of the reasons why this was so optimal as far as the location is because they would bring freighters in and anchor them just offshore so that agents could practice swimming out to them and planting explosive mines and those types of things. And this is clearly why Ian Fleming was here in 1943 with British AU Naval Intelligence. This is exactly what the boys were trying to train. I would argue probably a precursor to the Special Boat Service, SBS, but this is what some of the boys were up to, and the training that was required for them in that case. Now, being in Oshawa, Whitby itself, being close to Oshawa, an airport was needed. Oshawa Airport was not far at all from this location. Oshawa also provided itself some opportunities in an urban setting, one being access to Defense Industries Limited, or DIL, where there was a relationship between the camp and the upper management very secretly, where agents were allowed to practice infiltrating the camp, and they would see if they could catch the agents to practice these things. Having Oshawa being only an hour by World War II standards of driving on Highway 2, from Toronto was extremely important for a number of reasons. Number one, today Toronto is the most multicultural city in the world, and it certainly was back then. All right, so that was so important for the recruitment of agents. So you could take someone who was from Poland or French or Italian, and you would find them, certainly in communities here. They could be taken, trained up. They already were Italian. They already were Polish, or, they had that whole life and background. It was now just a matter of training them as an agent. Certainly Toronto, in a bigger sense, provided a variety of opportunities for support staff, from doctors and dentists, and recruitment in various ways, let alone agents going, outbound. So very, very important. Certainly amazing training opportunities. Agents actually would go into Toronto, and they would be essentially do everything from start fights, break into buildings, hijack trains, literally a public train, GO Transit, what we would call today. Existed downtown Toronto on the lakeshore as it does today, and agents literally would hijack that train, and they always carried with them a code that said S25-1-1, and that essentially was a bit of a get out of jail free card. They would give that to law enforcement. They'd look that up and realize, you're one of those Camp X boys. Well, get in the back of the car. We'll take you back to the camp. So many, many reasons why Camp X was put here in at that time, very out of the way location of Oshawa, Whitby, right on the lakeshore, as far as that goes. Again, Camp X, amazing piece of history. The Foundation of Special and Black Operations. We're real proud of it and committed to bringing this history to you.